What's up, y'all? It's Rob back here to guide you through another cultural phenomenon with hopes to hopefully guide you to want to work and empower yourself to be a better you. And today's cultural phenomenon that we're kind of going through is, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Life has been interesting, and when I say life has been interesting, I think I want to say come at things from a couple different angles. Fear. Fear is a, a formless blob, in my opinion, and fear finds a way of creating and making shapes. And I think today's cultural phenomenon is how fear affects us. And I think for me today, I want to talk about how fear takes shape in our culture and many more. So, fear is an emotion that we all experience. I think back in the olden days, you can quote me on this a little bit that fear was a message. It was an opportunity to let us know that we might be in danger or we should be skeptical, and I feel like having fear is a natural human thing. But as time goes on, human society looks different, and fear has shaped its way into a different beast that we have to be afraid of. That could be paying our bills on time, that could be our health, that could be a relationship, that can be friendships, that can be a lot of different things. And fear finds its way in a lot of our decisions. And today's cultural phenomenon and really addressing is, when should we listen to fear and when should we push through fear? And I think pushing through fear and noticing which fear to listen to starts at this uncomfortable place of, what are we afraid of? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm afraid of a lot of things when it comes to my own health, when it comes to not realizing my dreams, when it comes to not, I say it on every podcast, help me pay my friends. I want to be the person that cuts them a check. Getting married, being a good father, paying my own taxes on time. I ain't trying to get Wesley Snipes. Now, the only reason why I say that kind of stuff is in the modern era, fear shapes a lot of our decisions. And I think there are times where you have to be mindful of the fear and those things are there. But fear can't always be a deciding factor for why you choose things. That's what brings us to fear of outcome. I think a lot of people do certain things because it's the fear of outcome of not being able to realize something, and it puts a lot of pressure on us to make quick decisions or fear-based decisions. I think, in all honesty, I think a good place for me to kind of like start with talking about fear and fear of outcome is, I'm not going to use my therapist background. I think I'm going to be a person and talk about time where I was truly afraid, and I can kind of give one that's kind of relatable to a lot of people. And I remember there was a time long ago that I was dating around, and I remember that this person told me that they loved me, and at that time, well, I didn't love them back like I did, and I made a fearful decision. And that fearful decision was, I said I love you back, and I really didn't mean it. Now, obviously, um I'm not in that relationship, but that relationship ended, and it really ended, and the potential of it didn't truly get realized because I was afraid of saying I didn't love you back. I was afraid of losing the benefits I got with being with that person. Um, I lost an opportunity for a person to really hear me of where I was coming from, and I really just lived a life out of fear. And I did something that maybe that was harmful to that person, and maybe they carry that to that day. And I also have to live with the decision of, not being true to myself or man enough to talk through it with that person. Because the funny thing about fear of outcome is when we're afraid of things, we're trying to not make an outcome happen. But when we are rooted in so much fear, right, we can usually manifest. I know you heard that a lot on the internet. We can really manifest the outcome that we really don't want by moving in fear. that can be in so many different things. So today's thing, or I shouldn't say today's thing, the cultural phenomenon I really want you all to sit with is there comes a time in your life where you can't let fear define who you are, and you do have to move with a balance of being calculated and fearlessness. Because at the end of the day, living a life of fear is actually living life. There are times to be fearful, and there's times to actually push through that fear. And pushing through that fear actually leads you to more of the outcome in the life that you want to live. A life that's worth living is a life that is understanding that fear is a part of decision making, but it shouldn't be the only stamp of approval. There are a lot of other ways that you can make decisions. That can be your emotions, that can be your values, that can be your purpose. And fear shouldn't be the only thing that drives you. So hopefully today, maybe I can have you look at fear a little differently, and maybe not be afraid of your choices, and maybe you're empowered to, make a fearless decision and not let fear define who you are. Because at the end of the day, I'm working on that, and hopefully you're working on that too. So to your family, neighborhood, Black therapist, and friend, Rob, don't be afraid. Dig deep, cut through fear, because on the other side of that is the life that you want to live. So if you like what we're doing, like, comment, subscribe. We out.